What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to talk about how you guys can increase your arm strength and throw power. Let's get started. All right, guys, so the first thing I'm going to talk about is where our power comes from at the quarterback position, okay? A lot of people think that, oh, you got to have a real strong arm, strong shoulder, and you got to be able to throw this thing with your arm super hard, 100 miles an hour to throw it 40, 50 yards downfield. That's completely untrue. We don't want to be an arm thrower, guys. We want to be a body thrower. We want to be a leg thrower, a hip thrower, and a core thrower. That's where all of our power comes from, guys. A lot of people will just they won't have this good base. They won't use any power from their legs, and they'll just throw with their arm, and they'll be completely tall from the waist down. That's not what we want, guys. We want to be in this good, powerful base. All of our power comes from our legs, okay? And our leg drive is what starts the throw. We're pushing off of this back leg to start here. We're pushing off of this inside arch, like you guys have heard me talk about. And when we push, that brings our hips through. And when our hips come through, that's when the whole process of the throw comes with velocity, because then everything is just chasing our hip. Our hip is rotating through this target first. It's coming through. Let's say I'm throwing right out this way. My hip is coming through. Now my shoulders stay back, my arm stays back, and that follows my hip, okay? You got to chase the hip with your shoulders and with your core rotation, okay? Now, how can you develop this? How can you make a much stronger arm from these two things? And that's going to be developed in the weight room, guys, okay? You got to be working a lot of core exercises, a lot of hip stretches, in my opinion, because we want to be loose with our hips and we want to be able to rotate through this throw. And squats, guys. Squats is the most important exercise, in my opinion, for quarterbacks, because it works your core strength, it works your legs, and it's going to be working that drive off of your legs to make this throw and to have a powerful throw, to have much more velocity on the ball as well. So if we can get strong in our legs so we're able to push and produce ground force faster, then we're going to be able to have a strong core. My favorite exercise in the weight room for core is probably Russian twists, or you got that ab wheel, okay? Those are probably the two best for a quarterback, because that's going to help us be able to rotate through and be aggressive when we rotate through on this throw. Also having this fast, powerful push from our legs from doing squats, guys. All right, guys, so we talked about our base. We talked about all of our power coming from our legs, but what are the proper mechanics to make sure that we're able to push off and have as much power as possible? And that's gonna come from having a wide base and sitting low. You gotta think of it almost like a boxer, okay? You're a boxer, you're not gonna be standing real tall with my legs real narrow and try to knock somebody out, because you're not gonna have any power from your arms or from your hips. They're sitting low and they're right in here so they can get some power on this hook and actually rotate through with some pop. Same thing with us right now at the quarterback position. We're rotational athletes, much like a boxer when he's throwing a hook. So we got to be able to stay nice and wide with our base and have a slight bend to our knees, okay? Because a lot of guys will be real close together. Their feet will be inside of their shoulders, and what that does is, we already talked about pushing off of this back leg. If you're real close together and you're pushing off this back leg like we should, it's going to create this long stride, and then we're split, guys. Then we don't have any power from our base because we're in this very wide position. So it's all about this stride, you know what I mean? It's all about getting this front foot in the ground. How fast can I get my front foot in the ground? So we got to be able to be wide so it's already out there to catch us, so we can push as hard as we can off of this back leg, and that leg's already in the ground. Now, I talk about not being super tall and not being super narrow from my waist down, because we could be wide, but if we're tall, we're not going to get any push, right? So you got to sit down. You want to have a tall back, though, so you can rotate. A lot of guys get too power-minded, and they're like this, and they hunch over, and they can't rotate. So we do want to pull our shoulders back here, have a nice slight bend, because when we strike the ground, I want my toes down through the throw, because if I go here and I go heel-toe, or I extend with this front leg, everything's going to shoot up, and I lose all the power from my legs. So I gotta make sure I sit low, I'm pushing, and I strike the ground with my toes down, so that can create this hip drive, and then we chase our hip, but it all starts with your base. All right, guys, so we already talked about below the waist, okay? We already talked about what it's gonna take from below the waist to get some power on this ball. Now let's talk about above the waist, right? We talked about our hip drive, we talked about our hip coming through first, and then you got your whole body chasing this hip, but how can we effectively do that? You wanna have a vertical posture from your hips up. We kind of touched on this previously in this video, but having a vertical posture here allows you to rotate through all the way. The natural path of the arm is right here, right past your pocket. That's the natural path of the arm, but if we're hunched over, we can't do that. But I do want to relax these shoulders, because I see too many quarterbacks, they think they got to throw it hard, and they're super tense up here, they're gripping the ball super tight, and they're trying to throw this thing here. Now, that's completely wrong. If you're trying to put force into this ball from your upper half, your body can only produce so much force, okay? And if we're exerting force from our shoulders, from our traps, and we're nice and tense, we're not going to be able to push as hard as we can. If you want to get more pop on the ball, all you got to do is drive more from this leg and get your hip torqued into this throw more. That's all it's going to take. It's not going to be from tensing up here. So let's relax our shoulders. I'm not saying relax the ball and hold it way down by our waist here. I'm talking about relax the ball, nice normal carriage, but so we're able to drive harder and we're able to push harder off this back leg, so we can just naturally have this thing rotate rotate through and get some torque from my upper half and let my arm fling through in this natural path. But that's what it's going to take above the waist, guys. A good vertical posture from my hips up, a straight spine, and relax these shoulders so I can produce maximum force from my legs. All right, guys, so now we're gonna talk about how to improve your deep ball, okay? Now we assume that we got everything correct, okay? We got a good base, we got a nice tall posture, but what's it gonna take to make sure we throw this deep ball consistently and have a lot of pop on this deep ball, okay? So what I see, and I'm not saying this is the only way to throw the ball, but this is what I've seen the most success with my guys and myself personally, is when you arc these shoulders. You got your shoulders on almost about a 45-degree angle. It's all about arc and then finish, guys. That's how we're gonna throw a good deep ball. That's how we're gonna get this ball to turn over. We're gonna be able to get it out there. So arcing these shoulders, right? And then it's the same mechanics. We're still pushing off of this back leg here, pushing off this inside arch, getting my hips torqued, but now I'm just rotating up and over through this throw to get that angle on it, okay? Because if we have flat shoulders, in my opinion, and we try to leave this thing up here, we're gonna end up pushing this ball and we're gonna come underneath it. That's obviously not what we want on this thing. So I wanna arc my shoulders here, and when I push off of this back leg, I wanna rotate through and I wanna leave my follow through up at the top of the throw, much like I'm playing basketball. For all my basketball players out there, like I'm shooting a free throw, that's where I wanna leave my follow through. I wanna leave my follow through at the target, but I want this thing to be high and so I can get some arc and get some finish on this ball, okay? So same exact mechanics. Arched shoulders here, arched shoulders, nice, relax, have an arc, sitting in this good base, drive, keep my toes down through the throw, get my hip torqued through, and I rotate up and through the throw, and I leave this follow through right at the top to get this ball to drop right in that bucket like we want it to. It's all about the legs, all about trajectory, and all about finish. All right, guys, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Please leave in the comments any questions you guys have. That would really mean a lot to me. And please like this video and subscribe to this channel. That would also really mean a lot to me. I'll see you guys next time.